One of the things I've always said about Scripture when we read it is that there's oftentimes a story behind the story. I call that sort of the watermark principle. Like if you've ever had a really expensive piece of paper, hold it up to a light, you see the watermark behind it. A lot of these stories have really rich depth to them. So I'm going to read this story to you and just see if another story comes to your attention. If not, I'll bring it to your attention, but I think you'll see something really cool here. So this is out of the Gospel of Mark, chapter 4. We're told that Jesus had got with the disciples into the boat, and they had gone into the Sea of Galilee. And it says, "And a great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat, so that the boat was already filling." Now, is there any other story that you can think of in the Old Testament where there was a boat and that it was all of a sudden being hit by a storm to the point of where the boat was starting to break apart? And then we're told, but he was in the stern asleep on the cushion. Any other boat story that you can think of where there was a great storm and when they found the main character that they were asleep inside the boat? Well, Jesus is asleep inside the boat, and they go down and they get him and they say, "Master, you've got to save us. The boat's falling apart." And of course, Jesus comes up and he calms the storm. Well, if you're hearing right, you probably are remembering an Old Testament story. It's the story of Jonah. Jonah was in a boat. There was a huge storm. And when they realized that maybe Jonah was a major part of why the storm was going on in the first place, what did they do? Well, they went down and got him in the boat. What was he doing? Well, he was asleep. When they got him up and pulled him up on top of the boat, they started questioning him about what had gone on, and he explained to them that he was running from God and that God probably had created this storm, and the only way the storm was going to go away is if they threw him overboard. Well, when they throw Jonah overboard, what happens? Immediately the storm ceases. And what does everybody on the boat conclude? Jonah's God is God. Yahweh is God. Well, what's Mark telling us by telling us the same story? Well, Mark tells us the story because he wants us to know that nobody had to be thrown over the boat because Jesus calmed the storm from inside the boat. What's the big takeaway? The big takeaway is that the God who calmed the storm in the book of Jonah was in the boat with the disciples. Jesus is, in fact, God. Take some joy in that today. He is the one who can calm the storms of our life. And you may be going through a lot right now, but take a moment today and spend a little time with Jesus and ask Him to be the one who brings peace in the midst of your life.